We try to keep costs down for our intended parents. Typical surrogacy through my program is about $115,000 for a singleton pregnancy and about $125 for a twin pregnancy. We do not transfer more than 2 embryos into any of our surrogates. That's a rule of thumb. So having more than twins is very unusual, even when transferring 2 embryos. Maybe you want to start off with some questions from any parents?
What does a 115 entail?
Yes, that's surrogate. That's going to be a typical surrogacy and egg donation for a gay couple or a single intended father. So that's your surrogate's compensation, donor compensation, your legal fees for both, your IVF expenses, your medications for your surrogate and your donor, life insurance policy. You're also looking at the incidentals, the monthly allowance that we talked about earlier. Also things like your surrogate's start of meds fee, her transfer fee. Those are things that she gets compensated before she even becomes pregnant. So in and out the door, maternity clothes, everything is included in that fee. Yes. Go ahead.
If we're able to find, now, would we be able to, say for example, if we have our own egg donor and surrogate, would y'all still be able to?
We do. We actually have a coordination only service for intended parents who already have, done part of our job for us. And we usually give off about $5,000 for that, off our normal program fee.
Do you have any guarantee?
We do not. While we request that you check our references, of course, we give out a reference sheet of about 25 to 35 intended parents who've been through our program. We don't have people walk away without babies. We actually have an IP fund account for our intended parents that we regularly donate to. So if an intended parent has, a hiccup in their journey and we know that they are not going to be able to get through this process and have a baby without our assistance or the assistance of one of our clinics, then we're going to donate to that. I tend to refer to clinics that haven't forgotten the reason that they're in this business. I want their sole goal in this to make sure that you walk away with a baby, and we've had intended parents that have had hiccups and lost twins, halfway through their pregnancy that already paid more than half of their expenses and really couldn't afford to get through it without that. And when I have a clinic that I work with and I refer to often, I expect them to, offer a free service here and there, whether it be a free cycle or a free egg donation. And then we also, like I said, donate money out of our IP fund account for it as well. So I can honestly say that 95% of our intended parents have walked away with a baby, and some are still, working on that journey. Go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier that you all deal with the single and double transfers, for pregnancies. For the ones that did the double transfers, we heard a lot from the last aspect about the risk of complications. What was it? What just from your experience, what have you seen many from you all in your agency?
As far as complications?
Complications, during
Right.
afterwards.
As you can imagine, in the surrogacy industry, we have a lot of people who do double embryo transfers, okay? So I see a lot of twins. We really don't see a whole lot of complications with them. Yes, they're gonna come earlier than a singleton pregnancy. That's a 40-week gestation. Typically, a twin pregnancy, we're seeing anywhere between 34 and 36 weeks as an average gestation. And they're typically okay at that point. Now, you're gonna have yours here and there, and just same with the singleton pregnancy where they come a little bit earlier and they're gonna have a NICU stay. Typically, I don't see a whole lot of extra expense. I mean, when we're talking about like insurance, you're paying your maximum out of pocket. Usually you don't meet that, A lot of these hospitals in Texas, like Baylor All Saints, Harris Methodist, that we work with a lot, they will actually discount, if they want you to pay your bill. They don't want to have to write it off and not get paid anything. So a lot of the time they negotiate these bills, the really high ones, down by about 60%. So, I mean, I've had babies in the NICU before, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and the intended parents, didn't go broke over it. I mean, there's insurance, and then there's also the discounted rate with the hospital. Did that answer it? Okay. Go ahead.
What's the standard practice on surrogate insurance? Is it okay for an IP to ask my surrogate, hey, can you come to the table with your own insurance for surrogate?
Oh, of course. And I mean, all of my surrogates would. I wouldn't match anybody without a surrogate with insurance. I do, if you were here for the session on insurance, I deal with insurance in Texas more than anybody that was on the panel. So typically you're looking at an 80-20 plan for your surrogate, which insurance pays 80, you're responsible for the 20. I can get a cash pay and delivery in the Dallas area, let's say, for a singleton for under $2,500. It's really not that expensive. If you're doing twins and there's a cesarean, you're going to be looking at about $6,000 to $7,000 cash pay. Now with insurance, you're going to be looking at closer to $5,000 to $4,000 for a cesarean and under that for a vaginal delivery.
So is IP paying for the surrogate insurance, or is that something?
Sometimes. If the surrogate comes with her own insurance and she already had it prior to starting with us, then you would not pay it. But let me mention this. I'm a little bit different than some of the other agencies. So if a surrogate comes to me and she needs an insurance policy that we have to get through, like the ACA, Obamacare, then I have my surrogates lower their compensation to make up for that policy. So typically an inexperienced surrogate with me starts at $35,000 compensation, and it goes down to $30,000 if they don't have insurance and we need to purchase a policy. Anybody else with any questions? How much time do I have? 5 minutes? Okay. I'm sure some of you have probably talked to some of the clinics here. I want to kind of touch on that just a little bit and go over the costs with the clinics and why choosing a clinic near a surrogate is important. I know earlier they talked about working with clinics out of state, working with surrogates out of state. If you want to be cost efficient, you want everything in Texas. I mean, when it comes down, you want your surrogate in Texas, you want to get your egg donor in Texas, you want to use a Texas clinic, you want to do Texas legal, all of it. Because anytime you go out of state and have to travel or incur travel costs, you're looking at $4,000 to $6,000 for your egg donor and your surrogate to leave the state. So I would try to keep everything local. There are a lot of great clinics here. Fertility Specialists of Texas is one that I use on a regular basis. San Diego Fertility is also great, but they are out of state, and we usually use them for out-of-state surrogates. So I would definitely think about trying to do everything local, whether it be here in Austin, Houston, Dallas. As long as you're in the state, you're fine.
Resources in the state?
Yes, all of mine are. We do Texas Family Law for our legal. Typically, that's Lauren Duffer. She's been in business forever. She's very thorough. Her contract's about 80 pages long. So you know that it includes everything that you could possibly think of, and it probably says it about 6 different times in different sections of that contract. So she's not in-house. She is the one that I refer to on a regular basis. Yeah. And then our surrogates have their own separate legal counsel. I do not recommend using the same attorney for your surrogate that you are using for yourself. You need to have independent counsel from your surrogate. So our independent counsel for our surrogate is Doug Devlin.
All of them are within Texas courts.
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really only one Texas court that we don't work in, and that's Tarrant County. You may have seen a news article about that for some intended fathers that did it in Dallas. That was more of a, I won't even go into what that was, but they knew better. They knew better than to do it there. The attorney did. So Tarrant County is just not, it's not a county that you do surrogacy for gay men at all. We run everything through Dallas County. We know the judges there. We were actually the first agency to get 2 men on the birth certificate. So, and that was done through Lauren Duffer's office as well.
Do you guys have any experience in Houston County? Like
We do.
Montgomery?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually have, we have another attorney here in Houston, actually, named Barbara Klein.
Okay.
Yep.
When you have an IP
You can do it anywhere in Texas. I mean, as long as your surrogate and your donor are here, you're going to incur a lot less travel costs than you would getting somebody outside of the state.
I mean, like the contracts or the portion of it. Do you recommend getting from someone specifically you live in, or any attorney could do it for you?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
hmm Yep. Anybody else? They're about to kick me out. All right. Well, I'm doing consultations between 3:30 and 5 today. So if you want to request a consultation, I'll be in the Alamo room.